As Mike's old religion Dystopia, Dawn versus Belief. Let's see. How you doing, John?
Very good, Mike.
John, how do you say your last name?
Yost.
I thought so.
Yost. Yeah.
This one is. I thought it was so, but I have a tendency to butcher people's names.
No, that's
I
fine.
no, I
That's
really
fine.
do. If you listen to all my past shows and interviews, I've always it's just part of who I am, part of my multiple sclerosis and all the side effects of it. So,
Sure.
so John, I know you're kind of limited time because you've got something going on tonight, right?
Yes, I do. I have another. I've had two calls already today, and I have another podcast this afternoon with some people in Australia.
Well, I hope that this will be something very beneficial to you and revealing to you, because I was thinking today. Well, first of all, folks, John is a filmmaker, and he just put out a film called Alien Abduction: colon Answers, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
In which he goes and he does interviews of people who have had the experiences of what people call alien abductions, and try to figure out what is really going on. So, well, John, what I used to do, I do interviews, and I'm thinking of maybe in my last days of my life, I might go back and start interviewing people again. You might be actually the first person, maybe second, the first person I've done this since 2018, 19. I know I walked away from it all because of I don't know, just had enough of it. To be honest with you, but I'm back, and what I want to do is, folks, is to kind of an interview, but really a conversation, because John and I actually, after just having a little brief conversation, probably have a lot more in common than we realize. And by the way, I have some very special gift for you when it comes to the mystery of Ultraman, because I know someone and I have images of that same entity being filmed in the sky.
Wow,
I do.
that's incredible. That's
It
incredible.
is incredible. You know, and I was thinking, I didn't register in my head until about an hour ago.
Huh.
And I go, I'm looking at this image of Ultraman, and I'm thinking to myself about John, because we're both the same age, basically. He's just maybe half a year older than me.
Hmm.
And so I wasn't raised on Ultraman, but many people were, because it came out a couple years before we were born, ironically, in 1966. An
Hmm.
awful lot of things came out in 1966.
Yes, sir.
A lot of things that are pretty dark and twisted, and also a lot of deliberate misinformation by the propaganda machine called the television, otherwise known by Anton LaVey as Satan's altar,
Hmm.
in which a lot of things were twisted. So, but before I get into that, so people, if you're into watching movies, check it out. I haven't, only the trailer. I haven't had a chance to watch the movie. I imagine I will get to it at some point, but I'm in a really, for myself, John, I'm at that stage of my life where the tail end. I have multiple sclerosis, advanced stage of it. And so what I'm trying to do is prepare for the ultimate and make my decisions. And boy, talk about if you want to really know who your family, when it comes to this time of life, oh my gosh, no one listens at all. Being
Hmm.
accused over and over again and wanting to commit suicide. I'm like, oh my gosh, will you guys listen to me?
Hmm.
I made it simple. It's a choice about nursing homes, or if I, allow God to take me out in a more noble way.
Hmm.
And if people think that I shouldn't have issues with nursing homes. There's a movie out there, a short interview movie called Watch the Water. I don't know if you watched it yet yourself, but
No,
I
sir.
strongly recommend you'll be cued in about a lot of what's going on in the past 2.5 years and what's going on in these state-run institutions that we call nursing homes. So, and besides that, folks, I just want to bring that up because it's really heavy. And one of the things I'm doing right now, John, is God blessed me with having this room that you're seeing right now. 2 years ago, it was just covered with fish tanks and have life all around me. And I always wanted that. I even had visions of that in my life, that I'd have something like that. But the vision that I had it wasn't quite the same as what it turned out, as always. But it's time to let everything go because of my health. And so I've been having people come and just basically take the fish and the fish tanks and everything. So I'm down to a few. But it's just preparing myself for the last days of my life in this plane of existence. And will I allow this world take out my dignity or not? And or will I allow to be the man that God created me to be, or do I allow this world try to snatch it from me? Because I'm not going to go in that nursing home. I can tell you that much. Anyways, the point we're here is to talk about what I want to do, John, is to, and if I called you Tom, I apologize, to talk about you, specifically your experience, what you saw. But before we get into that, before we even get into your childhood, if it's all right with you, I'd like to ask you, from as a young man to where you are now, what have you done for a living? Is that all right to ask that question?
Sure, of course.
And you can ask me the same question if you're interested. So it's all right.
No problem at all. When I got out of school, I became a U.S. Customs broker, and I worked in international finance and logistics, and moved people, material, intellectual properties, and a lot of money all around the world. And I help my clients navigate international trade agreements and help them with paying dues and taxes around the world. And then I was doing that for about 10 years, and it just lost its taste for me, to be honest with you. All the bureaucracy just just wasn't for me anymore. And so I decided to pursue a childhood dream. I wanted to be involved in film and television and theater and that sort of thing. And that was a difficult transition, as you can imagine. And but I was pretty successful at it, meaning that I could make a living.
And how long have you been doing that?
I want to say now 25 years. 25 years, yeah.
Well established in the
And
field, then.
yeah. So, I'm not a new dog. And and so I've been doing that. And so I'm at present, I'm in charge of groups bigger and smaller. We do a tremendous amount of commercial work, things that you'd see on television, television shows, films, commercials, educational videos. Like companies will have, videos that they have to teach their their employees things, that sort of thing. And so we do all of that, including create original content, which is what all films are considered, or television shows.
Right.
Yeah. So we've done that for other people, meaning like, a big company would come in, like say Fox or Esquire or Verizon, and they'd hire us to do things. And so for the past, I want to say 5 or 6 years, we have been creating our own original content.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
That answer the question? Yeah.
Sure, and isn't that interesting? And I'm glad that I shared my perspective on that and your perspective.
Yes, sir.
I don't mean to be disrespectful to you about what I said, but I have made a conscious attempt in the past 11 years to avoid all that. And the reason why that is because it truly affects me spiritually. to
Understand?
have, imagery, trying to push the narrative on me and my soul. I seem to do a better job, and I think a lot of people do as well, to let maybe the spirit guide
Hmm.
you. Now, you say that you're a born again Christian. You told me that.
Yes.
If you don't mind me saying
Yes.
that. And
No,
so,
no, I'm very
and
proud of that, by the way.
cool. And I am a hardcore believer in the Lord of all spirits, Jesus, and but I'm not.
Yes.
I'm not a religious man at all. In fact,
No, neither am I.
if you want to find one person that is the most brutally honest and critical about organized religion, I don't care what it is. Just listen to me, because I will tell you the absolute truth and show you over and over again how they go contrary to what is the words in the book that we say that's so sacred. So,
Hmm.
saying that, this why did I bring that up? And one of the things is why we actually even started talking is I brought it up, my concerns about the issue that you're researching on, which you have every right to have this, do your research and investigate it first and foremost, because you've had your own experiences, own encounters, which makes you legit as far as really searching for answers, right? You know what I mean? I'm not trying to sound, if somebody didn't have experience, that doesn't mean they don't have any less right to find out the truth. But when you experience stuff such as what we call aliens, some people call them different things.
Hmm.
I am getting the impression that the things that were, what the names we're giving this stuff, either has been handed to us on a styrofoam platter or uh, some form of misinformation at the best. I think the naming, what we're naming these things is, uh, we have biases that's keeping us from having a clear understanding of what we're dealing with. Does that make sense?
It does, sir. Thank you.
And it's not just religious; it's also within the whatever field. If you're talking about UFO, that field, that community, there's
Hmm.
always and always the push of certain agendas, and when you
Hmm.
try to break free from that, you are. It's like a limited hangout.
Mm.
Always, in which you're only allowed to go so far, and then you're out of the picture. I got a
Hmm.
feeling that you might have experienced something like that in your journey. Has that been the case?
Yeah, yeah. I guess that's a really good observation. There are people, and I'm wary of them, to be honest with you. There are people who have a license on the truth, and you'll see them all over the place. Anytime one of these blurbs come out in the news, they always rush to the same sort of people, and they say, "What does this really mean? What is?" And then this person talks about this, and this is their truth. And I always get a kick out of that. You and I are around the same age, and I always tease about this. I say, I'm old. So when I think of people who say, this is my truth, I always think about, well, back in the day, they would call that your opinion that nobody else shared. And I always get a kick out of that
Or
because,
is it even their truth or somebody else that's been handed?
yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
It's really
It's
you're
the one they're
parroting.
renting, the one they're renting for that day.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I
absolutely.
mean?
Aren't we
So
all
I
guilty
get a
of
kick at
this?
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, I have bumped into that often. What I've discovered, though, to be quite frank with you, is like most things that are true. We can only know, know a piece of it because our humanity stops us from understanding the entirety of it all. We can understand how it relates to us, maybe. Take a look at our God of the Bible. I mean, that thing, is so, these are words that try to contain the creator of the universe. How can you contain the creator of the universe? You can only understand parts of it, but you can't contain the creator of the universe because our minds can't even conceive of that much power.
Nope.
We
We are
can
the
fear it.
creation. We are the creation, and there is a creative
Yeah,
force,
yeah.
Lord of all
So
spirits,
when
or whatever you want.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it ties into what you were talking about
But
with
then, saying
dogma
what
and
you're saying,
religion.
though, I
You know.
wanted to interject something because
Oh, please, please, please.
my observation in the journey of the quest of the truth is that there is only one truth. There are. So here's the thing.
Mm,
Now, you say that's okay. That's my truth and all that, and you might be right on. You might be 20% accurate and precise in your opinion, and it's right on the money. But there's still, at the end of the day, there's only one truth, and then there's all
I
the
agree.
variants and we have to always this in the journey of the exploration to find the truth of any subject. There's always going to be a minefield of whether intentional or not, of misinformation and disinformation that you have to weed through.
I
You have
agree.
to, but there always is one truth.
I
Eventually,
agree. I agree.
the universe wouldn't work if there was not only one truth.
That's brilliant. You're right about that. You're right about that.
So that's something to think about. And so, as when I hear people say such things as, and they say, going contrary to what is pure God-given logic, I just would like people to step back a little bit and say, your truth or Michael Adams' truth or anybody's truth is not the same thing as the truth.
Yeah.
And I would encourage all to pursue the truth. And from my own personal observation is that based on how human behavior is, also how the controlling elements of our culture, we call them the elite, we call them the oligarchs, you can call them the whatever. They have all these nice titles, but there's social engineering going on. There are
Mm-hmm.
groups, whether it's Tavistock, whether it's Hollywood itself. I mean, you should know this. You being involved around that, and it doesn't take the genius to figure out real fast how controlling it is in itself. There's a Laurel Canyon and strong connections with mass MSM, mainstream media, and not only the government and the military, but all the way up to even the monarchies of this world, but most people think don't exist. This is
Mm-hmm.
extremely important for folks when you're investigating anything, is always to put that in the back of your mind because I do believe that you can find out the truth for yourself, but you're going to have to be willing at times, and most times, to separate yourself
Mm-hmm.
like that of Plato's cave
Mm-hmm.
and from the group, the
Mm-hmm.
hangout. How much do you really want to know the truth? And that's a really important question. Most people I have observed don't want to pay the price that's required to actually know the
Mm-hmm.
truth because it's going to lead you in places you don't or would expect or don't even want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people that are going to try to, cause you to question your quest for that truth, and it intentionally or not. So when you are on this journey, now we're going to now go back to your childhood
Mm-hmm.
about Ultraman and your experience. And I want you to be a little more, if you're willing to, from the interview that I watched that you shared on Bigfoot, Northwest Ohio Bigfoot Research, that Facebook
Mm-hmm.
page, which I started,
Mm-hmm.
which I watched the video all the way through and a couple times halfway through. It's just interesting watching the interaction between you three gentlemen. I find it fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
But the story, I want to know more about the story in more detail because, as I told you earlier in this this recording, went back in time and found some images of something that looks just like Ultraman, but it's in the
Mm-hmm.
sky
Mm-hmm.
and it's very metallic looking.
Yeah.
And I think you'll be quite pleasant or surprised, or you'll be at least make your heads, make scratch your head and go, I wonder what is all that.
Mm-hmm.
Some would see that that might have been what people would define as an angelic being.
Mm.
But I don't know. But it seems something that to be part of the ether and part of the second heaven. But tell us about this experience that you had as a young boy.
Yeah. Sure.
And
Sure.
I'm also going to take you a couple other places after you share it. So, but
Sure, Mike.
a couple of counters is what he had, right? At least one major one.
Oh, fine. We're in great shape. We're in great shape. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, excuse me. It was 1974. It was August. It was a summer break. And I was a 7-year-old kid. And I I lived in a suburb of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And it was the middle of the night. It was like, let's say 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, that sort of thing. And I woke up and I heard this buzz, this hum, almost like I can imitate it. It's like, mm, like that. And so it bugged me, it bothered me. And I sat up on the edge of the bed and I'm looking around my room. And my bedroom was on the second floor. And my window was open. It was a warm night.
Did you
And
guys have AC back then by chance?
no, sir.
No.
No,
Okay.
sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
What year was
And
this
so
again? What year was this?
1974.
Okay.
So I get out of bed. I'm a little warm. And I go to the bathroom, which was the next door down from my bedroom. And I go into the bathroom, do my business, whatever. I get a glass of water. And the water pours for a long time. And I don't know why. I just let it pour and pour and pour. After some time, I turn off the water and I go to open the bathroom door to leave the bathroom. And when I do, I am face to face with what to my 7-year-old eyes looked like Ultraman. Now, for those out there who don't know who Ultraman is, when
Uh,
we were kids,
while you're
yeah,
talking about that, I'm going to show the image of it. You
sure,
probably
sure.
won't be able to see it because
That's okay.
we're going
That's
through
okay.
Facebook. But here's the
Sure.
image of Ultraman that John sent me, along with an image of something that's very alien-like, Metallian-like being. So
Yeah. So, Ultraman, if you don't know what Ultraman was, it was a television show. It was Japanese television at the time.
of course.
And it was about this guy who had um, who had been hurt, and some sort of alien race had saved him, the way I remember it. And he, when in trouble or when there were bad guys around, he could press a button and turn into Ultraman. And Ultraman was this giant guy, and he was silver and red, and he had these really big eyes. And he would fight the bad guys, he'd fight the monsters. But Ultraman in that bathroom was my size, and I was a little boy, 7 years old. And so I see Ultraman in that doorway, and I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid at all, because I'm like, wow, this is Ultraman. How did he get in my room? This sort of thing. And I guess I was approaching him, and we got very, very close. We were in the doorway of the bathroom, and literally we were nose to nose. And then all of a sudden, something happened. And the way I describe it is this: is that if you've ever been in a very big swimming pool that has different levels, different depths, you'll get to that part where the water's right about here. And if you take another step, you slip and you go underneath the water. And I felt like I was just about slipping out, in that the world was being pulled out from underneath me. And I became afraid. Okay. Now, when you're afraid in a swimming pool, what you do is you flail, right? Because you
Sure.
think you're going to drown. This is what kind of starts to happen to me. And I'm struggling with this entity, really laying hands on it. And during this struggle, there is this tremendous flash of light. I mean, like blue, white arc light. Boom. And then I see, to my eyes, this spinning, fast, multiple colors. Almost the way I describe it is this: is like if you were on a carousel and you were going around and around, and something went wrong and it got crazy and got too fast,
Mm-hmm.
you'd see everything going by you so fast. Or if you were in one of those bullet trains and you were just zooming through a city, you'd see all these lights so fast you couldn't make out what was going on. So this is what I see. And I felt like I was moving, but I didn't know what was going on. And so I'm still struggling.
Well, can I
Okay.
stop you right there for a second?
Sure.
This is a valid question. You'll find out as time goes
Sure.
on. Was the spinning lights around you and the entity, or was it just around you? I know it's a long time.
I've never been asked that question. I've never been asked that question, but I would say
Because
my gut feeling.
I've filmed and seen things there's a reason why I'm asking this.
Okay, sure. My gut feeling, just because I've never been asked that question, is we, meaning me and that entity, were in the middle of those lights. It felt like it was like this, and they were moving, and this is key. They were moving from right to left, not
Did,
left to right. They were moving like this. Okay,
and
so
were you two moving, or was this just moving
no, it
around?
was like, well, here's the thing. I don't know that I was moving. I didn't feel like I was moving.
Did it seem like you're moving? I don't say feeling. Did it have the sense that you were moving or not? Because
Yes,
okay,
yes,
because you can have this
yes,
experience and you be feet plant on the ground, by the way. So
yes.
because
So
these
I felt like I was moving, but I couldn't tell. And these lights were moving crazy. Okay, so I'm in the middle of this flailing, kind of struggling.
mm-hmm.
And when I came to my senses, I'm still in the middle of flailing and fighting with this entity. But something had changed. The Ultraman guy was in the bathroom, and I was outside the bathroom. I mean, we're literally in the doorway of that bathroom, but his back was to the bathroom, and my back was to the hallway, right?
Uh-huh.
Now, the key here is the my back directly outside the bathroom was a stairwell that went down to the first floor. Okay, so my back now is to that stairwell. Okay, and we're in the middle of this struggle, and he or it reaches out with his right hand and touches me right here, like this.
Sure.
And I feel this blast. Mike, I'm going to tell you something. I've never felt anything like it. It felt like, poof, and it was a flash of light again.
Mm-hmm.
And I fall down these stairs. Now, these stairs, I didn't have carpet on them, they were all hardwood. So I'm bang, 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 bang. And I am screaming my head off. And so when I land, I'm sprawled all over the place and I'm screaming bloody murder. My parents were on the first floor. That's where their bedroom was.
Right.
And so my dad and mom, they come around the corner. What? In God's name, they're half asleep, right? What's going on? What's going on here? And I'm screaming, yelling at the top of my lungs. I'm saying, Ultraman is upstairs. He's up there. My father, I'm sure he hears, intruder, right?
Uh-huh.
So he bounds up the stairs and he's opening doors and stuff. And after a while, I mean, my mom's with me at the bottom of the stairs and I'm crying. And so my dad at some point comes to the top of the stairs and he looks down. And he kind of shakes his head like this to my mom and he says, "There's nothing up here. There's nobody up here." So
Typical
they take
dad
me
from
up.
the 70s, was he?
I'm sorry?
Was he a typical dad from the 70s from Midwest America?
Oh, he was from Pittsburgh. He was a mill worker. He was a big guy, 6'2", maybe about 240, big, strong fella. Picks
No,
from a
no
film.
nonsense type of film.
No, 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 no. And he had a
Did you
he
guys
had
have?
a
Did you guys? I'm sorry to
no, it's okay.
interrupt. No, I'm not sorry to interrupt, but for folks, you know what I do is I'll leave a link in the last interview, because he's allowed to probably. I know he's allowed to say the story a little more fluidly, without interruption. But I want to interrupt him because I already heard it, and being
Yeah.
the person that I am, and being self-centered, I'm going to go for it. So, but so did you guys? First of all, like for me, I had, and I don't want to spend too much time in my life, but I had a really awful relationship with my dad. I had a dad that truly hated my guts, and he made sure of it. I don't ever, to this day, still don't understand why. Except I'm thinking maybe he thought I was not his son, but it's clearly I have all the facial features of my dad, so I don't know how he got that. But something spiritual, maybe something, something went wrong, and so what I'm getting at here is I want to know, well, your relationship with your dad, was it a great relationship, or was it something that was troubled with your, not only your dad but your mom? Not to
Mhm.
condemn them, but I just noticed that
No, it's okay.
I noticed that a lot of folks who maybe have these sort of things maybe are more open because of the, for lack of better words, dysfunction in their lives, or lack of ability to
Hmm.
have the
Hmm.
honest conversation that are necessary for a child and his
Sure,
parents to have. Was this going on, or were you to have like a great relationship with your?
sure. Well, first of all, Mike, I'm very sorry that happened to you. That's tragic, and
It is what it is, but it's what has
yeah,
made me, honestly. In the end of the day, I'm not looking for
yeah.
sympathy. All that led me to who I am today.
I
It
understand. I
sucks,
understand.
and there's darkness there, but that
Yeah,
darkness led
yeah,
me to the light. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. I'm just saying, as a little boy, that sucks.
He
Yeah,
sure the hell did. But what about you?
yeah. I am the firstborn of six. I'm the first son. I'm named after my
That's
father.
6 kids, right? And blue
He,
collar
yeah,
family, right? Were you
yeah.
guys Roman Catholic?
Irish Catholic. He absolutely
Okay.
went to church every weekend.
There could be an
Did
element to
the
all this too, by the way, folks. That's why I
Sure,
bring it
without a
up.
doubt, without a doubt, without a doubt. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we were very religious, very Catholic, and so but my dad and I, we were thick as thieves. He adored well. Let me say this: I don't know how he really felt, but he treated me like gold,
Awesome.
and
Good. So that's not
yeah,
an issue.
he treated me like gold. And my mom, I was her shining joy, man. We had a ball. We had a ball when I was a kid.
Well, that's beautiful.
Um, yeah, and it really was. And because I was the first child in my family, my parents also came from larger families. My
Sure.
mother came from six, but I was the first grandchild. So I was, I don't want to say I was spoiled, but they loved the heck out of me, right? Um,
So when you had this experience with, because we will get into this about the
mhm,
hospital visit or the doctor visit.
sure.
Normally, your dad, I mean, was pretty receptive of what you had to say. I mean, he wasn't like, not telling you this,
Yeah,
because I know when it comes time to the doctor visit, just keep
yeah,
your mouth shut. Don't tell him
yep,
what's going on. But prior to that, did he
yeah.
question you and your experience, or your mom?
Well, let me just
Seriously,
say
man.
this: that night, he was upset, and he was upset at me. I guess waking him up. He was a mill worker, so he had just come home a couple of hours ago and was trying to get some sleep, and he was a little disgusted that he had been awakened, and I felt terrible to have you know been afraid. I felt terrible waking up my parents. I felt all those things that a little kid feels. And so, um,
So interesting. I would have been shocked.
yeah.
What you went through, I would have been shell shocked.
Well,
I wouldn't even have been as sensitive of what my parents were thinking at the time. And
no, no. I'm going to tell you something. I was and am a sensitive guy.
yeah.
I am, yeah. Um, and so I realized and I felt terrible. I thought that I felt like, you know, I told the truth. Why doesn't anybody believe me? Why doesn't
Oh
if
God,
somebody
yeah,
were upstairs, if something terrible was happening, at least they would know that I was, you know, because they loved me so much, I felt a very strong bond with them, and I was very, very, my dad's the best. My mom makes the best lasagna, that sort of crap. So anyway, my mom took me upstairs. My dad was up there, and they put me to bed. They do the thing that parents do. They open up a closet. They say, "See, nobody's here." They look under the bed.
sure.
Nobody's here. And my mom, kissed me on the head, soothes me a little bit, and I go back to sleep. Nothing. No problems.
Right.
Next day, it's summer break, and I go out to play with my friends. And I'm a crazy man. I mean, back in '70s, kids ate breakfast and they went forever,
That's
and
what
then
we
they
did.
came back. Yeah, they came back. They came back in when it was dark or when it was time for dinner. So my mom called me, and so I came in. And she said, "We're gonna have dinner, but you have got to take a bath before we can take, and because you're disgusting." And I was a little boy, and of course I didn't want to take a bath. And I'm struggling with my mom, and and then she just, come on, let's get serious. And she takes off my t-shirt,
Uh-huh.
and she sees my shoulder, and she's looking at my bruises, and
So
seeing if I had any
you
cuts.
pointing that would be your left shoulder, right?
My left shoulder, yeah,
Yeah.
left shoulder. So she's checking my bruises, whatever, and then she gets to my shoulder and she says, "Honey, what is this?" And I said, "Mom, I told you, Ultraman." And she looked at me very sad. This was the first time that I noticed anything amiss. But like something was, it's funny because when I'm thinking about this stuff as I talk to you, Mike, this is really good for me. When I think about that occasion, all of it, even though it was so strange, it didn't seem like it was out of place or wrong. Okay. It seemed like it was crazy and everything else, but I mean, I could have fallen off. I think in my mind, I could have fallen off a roof, or I could have fallen off a jungle gym or something, and it would have been that as tragic or as weird as whatever. I didn't consider what happened to me strange.
Yeah.
I know this sounds stupid, but then when my mom looked at me like that, and it was kind of a sad smile, and she gave me a little kiss on the forehead, and she told me it'll be all right, honey. Everything will be all right. Gave me the bath, had dinner, didn't think about it, watched cartoons, whatever, went to bed. A couple of days later, as you mentioned, my dad is taking me to the doctors.
Right.
Uh, and, you know, we're just going to go. And he says,
Now,
"Hey,
a
come
couple of
on."
days. That's a lengthy. Is this because of what's on the shoulders, the marks, and the?
I, I believe it was. I
Because it's a
believe it
couple
was.
days. So
It's a
although
couple days. So
it's
like,
'70s, so back then people didn't overreact about everything that happened.
yeah,
They always,
yeah,
my parents always. Well,
yeah.
most of the time they didn't go to doctors. It's just
That's
hey,
right.
you're going to survive it. Don't worry about it. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so a couple days.
A
So there
couple
was still
days later.
something going on with your shoulders to have that happen.
Well, what I intuit, I don't know this for a fact, but what I believe is that my mom didn't say anything to my dad and then talked to him later that night or whatever. And he said, I'm thinking that my dad was a pretty practical guy. I'm thinking he said, "Well, listen, let's stop fooling around. Let's go to the doctor and let's find out what he says."
Right.
That sort of thing. It was, I don't know if there's any big mystery there. I think it was just more of a straight line, like, well, stop fooling around. Let's just figure this out. And so we're driving to the doctor, and I knew we were going to the doctor. My dad said, "Hey, listen, we're gonna go to the doctor. Jump in the back, buckle up, that sort of thing." And we're driving, and we pull into the parking lot, and he says, as he's pulling in, I can still feel us going up the ramp. There's a little ramp into the parking lot. He
Sure.
looks back at me and he says, and his eyes are in the rearview mirror, and he kind of looks back at me like this, and he says, "Now listen, when we get in there," and he's talking to me as he's parking. "When we get in there, I don't want to hear any of this Ultraman BS. My dad was a kind of a hard guy, so he said those words. He said, "I don't want to hear any of this BS. Just keep that to yourself." And he said it, in that lower register. Dads could, correct you. Back in the '70s. Today, nobody respects any father or anybody. But back then, you didn't mess with your dad. And so he dropped his voice down into that lower register, and he says, "Now listen, I don't want to hear any of this Ultraman BS. You keep that to yourself." Well, sure, Dad. It wasn't even on my mind. I wasn't thinking about it. You know what I mean? I was going to the doctor because my parents told me to go to the doctor. That was it. We go in, normal doctor's visit. He's checking me out. He says, I understand you got a fall. He's checking my bruises, which are now turning kind of yellow, because it's been a couple of days since the fall. And he's just, does it hurt, if you extend your arms? Does it hurt, in your back? Just checking me out. And then, no broken bones, nothing. And he gets to my shoulder. And he says, "Whoa," he says, "what you got going here, sport? What's this?" And I looked at him, and my first inclination was to say, Ultraman. But I could see my dad standing in the corner behind the doctor. And my dad gave me, the look. I always describe it as the look. And like I said, back in the '70s, you didn't mess with your dad, especially with dad that big. He gave me the look. He's like, so I said, I don't know. I just fell. I don't know I don't know what you want me to
what
say.
did the doctor say? Did he say, because you have claw marks? Is that what's going on?
No, 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 no. In fact, if you take a look at the trailer again,
Okay.
you'll see at one point there's a close up of the mark on my shoulder.
It's more
And
like
what it looks like is it looks like it's raised, it's a scar, and it looks like I've been
burnt.
Yeah. It looks like I've been.
This makes sense with the entity that hopefully I'm able to share with you.
Yeah. Looks like I've been burnt.
So what did the doctor say?
So the doctor's like, "Whoa, look at this. Does it hurt? This sort of thing." I said, "No." He's fooling with it. He's tried, squeezed it a little bit to see if it, might have had, some liquid in it or whatever. He says, "Okay." He says, "We'll check on it in a couple, when you guys all come back for the yearly checkup, this sort of thing." And I said, "Okay." And my dad just looked at the floor. And so, I got up. It was the end of the thing. He gave me, said, "Listen, on the way out, get yourself a lollipop," that sort of thing. I walked out. And the thing that I do remember is that he said to my father, I could hear something where my dad was staying behind to talk to the doctor. And he said something about intense heat. That's what he said, intense heat. So I didn't think about it. I have my little lollipop, right? I'm fine. I'm in heaven, right? So we get back in the car and we're going, and my dad's talking about nothing, like cutting the grass or something like this. And yeah. And as we get back home, we didn't live that far away, about 15, 20 minutes from the doctor's office. We're pulling into the driveway, and my dad, once again, kind of looks up in the rear view and looks back at me, and as he's parking, he says, "Now listen, I don't want to hear anything more about this Ultraman. You keep that to yourself. I don't want you to scare your mother. I don't want you to scare your sisters. You just shut up about that. I don't want to hear anything more about it." And I said, "Oh." Now see, to me, at this point, and Mike, I really got to get this across to you. To me, at this point, I'm not thinking that it's anything strange. It's like I could have fallen out of a tree, and you're saying to me, "Don't talk about falling out of the tree," right? Okay, so I didn't get that there was any kind of supernatural
You're
or
too young to
strange
process all this. You're only 10 years old, right?
7. I was 7.
Oh, okay.
66.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It's 2004.
Okay.
1974,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, okay.
So you're even younger. You're too young to process
I'm too young to process. I don't know why. Why am I supposed to? But my dad told me. And this is what I'm trying to say about my relationship with my father at the time. I would have eaten 2 miles of his crap just to kiss his behind. I adored him. He was my hero. He was my hero, man. So I didn't think anything about it. And it never bothered me And this is, people ask me, well, why didn't you talk about it later and stuff like that? It just never bothered me. And then when I got older and I was in, a couple years in grade school and high school and university, I was in sports and stuff like this. Take off your shirt to go play basketball or whatever, or change into, guys would say, hey, what is that? And it just was, I didn't even think about it. I started to lie about it. I just, well, my dad said, well, hey, I got bit by a bear. I got shot. I got hit by a bolt of lightning. And it was one of those things where it just came out of my mouth. The idea was the more crazy I said something, the more they would just go, Yost, you're full of it, whatever. And the way I describe it, I think maybe even in the last interview, the one that you saw, is one of the gentlemen had eyeglasses. And I say to you, Michael, this morning you didn't say, I must take these glasses and put them on my face so that I can see better. No, you never went through that process. What you did was you said, oh, where the heck are my glasses? There they are. Okay, fine. Sure. Get on with your day. So it was just like that. And so I lived my entire life lying about it with no real intention or matter of import. It wasn't something that I was like, it's my precious. No, it was just like, I don't know what happened, and I never talked about it. And I only would say anything when anybody brought up, and it was just a casual brush off.
Now, when was you, actually, two questions. Did this entity have hands? Did you notice hands?
Yes.
He had fingers, hands.
Yes.
Okay, and then what age were you finally coming out about this? I mean, how long ago?
Yeah. Well, it was, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago, it seems to me. What happened was this. People ask me all the time, like, well, why make a movie now? Why would you do, what is that? What's the impetus now? Why? Well, something else happened. As I said, I've been in the business for a long time, 25 years. So many times what will happen is, let's just say you have your own television company or you're an author or you're a writer, okay? And Mike, you want to do a movie. So you might find a production company like mine and you would say, hey, listen, I want to do this and we're going to do this and I need you to produce this for me. And here's my budget, work it out, make sure that everything's done. And so we would deal with really, really big companies like Verizon or Fox or Esquire or Cox Communication or Armstrong Cable or whatever. And so we would be, I always say, guns for hire, meaning that we weren't the guys in charge of the gang, but we would go out there and we'd turn the wrench. We had the cameras, we had the drones, we have the writers, we have the producers, the makeup people, the whole bit. So we did business around the world. I mean, I've been in Belgium, I've been all over in North America, we've been in Canada, whatever. So we were on a shoot in Borrego Springs, California. Okay?
Which is what part of California is that?
That's in the south part of California. Okay. It's in the middle of nowhere. Okay. I mean, literally, when you think of California, it is desert. It is flat, arid, black. Okay?
No Joshua trees or anything like that there?
No. I mean, there's some cactus and cacti, but, and rocks, but I mean, it is flat and, Okay. Anyway, we were out there doing this shoot. And we were shooting at night, which we do all the time, because we have special cameras that, can pick up things in the dark. And we also use lights, big lights and generators and stuff. So we were done. It was about 2 or 3 in the morning, or 1 or 2, it was after midnight. And we had come back to this huge house that we had rented, Airbnb. And my team was just going through the normal process. We were taking all the footage and downloading it to hard drives so we wouldn't lose it or record over it. And it was a normal night, and everybody kind of went out to there was a big pool behind the house. And the house was a big flat house. It was a ranch-style house. Okay, so it wasn't very high. It was only 1 floor. So we're sitting out there, and we're all talking, and somebody says, let's have a nightcap. Okay, great. That's great. They're going to pour some wine. And so I had a glass, and I mean a glass, not a cup. It wasn't made out of plastic. It was made out of glass. And so they're pouring, and they're going to make a toast. And I raise my hand like this over my left shoulder like this. And people are, clinking glasses together. And they make the toast. They, hey, to a good shoot and, a couple more days and we'll wrap this up, whatever. And as I'm bringing this down, I see in the glass this glint, this little flash of light. And, whenever you see stuff, your mind is racing to say, like, what the heck is that? So my mind is saying, oh, that's the moon. That's the moon. And then as I'm bringing the glass down, I'm realizing, wait a second, what am I talking about? That's not the moon. The reason we shot tonight because it was a new moon, meaning there was no
Sure.
moon in the sky. And now I'm confused. No, my head is, I went, don't be so stupid, this sort of thing, And as I pull this glass down, directly in eye line, is what, to my eyes, appeared to be this irregular shaped thing. It looked a little bit like an egg. Wasn't exactly like an egg. And it was hanging in the sky, about 30 feet away from me and about 30 feet in the air. And it was close enough that I could have taken a baseball and nailed it.
Sure.
It wasn't that far away. And it was right over the house. And it had this kind of blue-green glow coming from it, its own luminosity. And once again, my mind is struggling to figure out what the hell am I looking at? And my mind says, it's a Mylar balloon. It's like one of those get well balloons you get at a gift store in a hospital, right? It's that shiny metal thing. And I went, wait a minute, that's not, and this is all happening like this.
I understand.
Like this fast.
What was this?
And I went, that's not a balloon. And I went, oh man. And one of my camera guys was with me, Scotty, and I went, look, and he went, oh my God. There were about 12 or 15 people with us around, little tables and chairs around this pool. There were a lot of folks involved. These people turn around and they look and they went, because they could see what was happening with me and Scott. They turn around, they're like, oh man, holy moly, look at that. All kinds of people having different reactions, right? And just then, this thing goes like this, zip, and it moves so fast. I've grown up around airports. I live near an airport. I have seen all kinds of stuff, all kinds of military stuff. I have never seen anything move this damn fast. It moved from where it was in kind of a zigzag right above my head and froze. It froze, and at this moment, is the first time in my entire life that I felt something's wrong. And at this point, I had that same feeling. Remember I told you about slipping underneath the water? That's exactly what happened again. I went, oh my. And this thing, I don't know how long it was above me, seconds maybe, but it definitely stopped there. Then it zigzagged over here, a little bit away from me, and stopped right above the house. Everybody is following. They follow it over my head. They're still commenting, oh man, look at this. What the hell's that? That sort of thing. And then they following it here, and then it stops, and then it just starts to drift out over the desert. And as I said, it's very flat. So we watched it, I want to say, for almost 2 minutes. It just slowly drifted away. And so what happened is that everybody's talking about, like, what do you think we saw? That a UFO. Wow, holy moly. This. And I felt completely alone. I had this terrible feeling in me. And I felt that floor slip out from underneath me. And I was kind of shaking inside. Like if you vomit a lot, if you've been very sick and you feel, nervous inside, that's the way it felt. And I'm thinking to myself, at this point, I have to tell you, Michael, at this point, I am not associating anything with this. I'm just jarred by the experience,
Sure.
Right? So I take a sip of wine, and I'm not feeling well. And so I say to everybody, well, I'm the guy in charge, and I got paperwork, and so I'm going to make it an early night. You kids, Don't stay up too late. I'm going to be ruined. I'm going to be tough on you tomorrow. That sort of thing. Ha ha ha. And I go back to the room that was mine, and I was petrified. I locked the door. I barricaded it with my suitcases. I pushed the bed up against it, and I crawled into a corner. And I'm not proud of this, but I wept and I lost my mind. And at this point, that same fear, like I told you, during the whole Ultraman thing, I didn't have fear until I felt that slipping up from underneath me. All of that fear came, and it felt like a fist pounding me, hit me so hard, and all of this stuff. Now, I had always remembered it clear as day, like I see you, but for the first time in my life, the import or the strangeness of the thing hit me. And then also, another thing I'm not very proud of, but I admit it to
Why
you.
do you keep saying that? Why do you keep saying that?
I'm saying what?
I'm not very proud of. Who cares a crap what?
Well,
Well,
I'm just saying.
you're
No,
acting absolutely normal.
yeah. Well,
I'm not very proud about
uh,
acting. Actually, you'd be something a little bit that what you're going through and what many people gone through. It's absolutely reasonable the dread and fear that you experience, and it's no
well,
problem to be ashamed of that. I mean, I had that go 3 days straight. Someday I'll share you my story or one of my stories. Oh, you listened maybe to that one interview I did, but
yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead.
So I don't sleep at all that night, and I'm shaky, and so I have we're a couple more days on the shoot, right?
Uh,
So I've got to I got to get things together, got to get people moving and stuff like this. And remember, I'm as a producer, you have to be really anal retentive. Okay, I
right.
have a lot of boxes to check. I got to make sure money doesn't go out the door. I have to make sure guys are on time. All this other stuff, and I'm slipping up. And my guys, who I've worked with for shoot, I want to say 10 years at this point, almost 8 years, they're looking at me like, "What's wrong with Johnny? What? That doesn't make any sense. You know, uh, something in that wine last night, ha 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 ha, that sort of thing."
Sure.
Meanwhile, I am literally struggling to keep from just screaming in terror. Everything is bothering me. Everything is scaring the shit out of me. Sorry, Mike.
I don't
Everything is
care.
scaring the hell
I
out of me.
swear all the time too.
And so I'm trying to keep it together. Now, what happens is I keep it together. I get on the plane. I'm once again, I'm not proud of this. I had quite a few drinks on the plane to kind of zonk myself out to get home. I get home and I'm fine. My family wants to know, hey, how's the trip? I don't want to talk about it, which is very different for me. And they start to notice that something's wrong with me. And I'm furious at myself, Michael. I'm furious because I am not that kind of person. I'm a very organized person. I'm a very on top of it. If you needed somebody to solve a problem, I'm that guy. You'd call me.
Sure.
Okay. Nobody's going to call me now because I'm a flake now. I'm losing my mind. I can't remember things, and I am petrified to walk outside my door. I'm a, I'm petrified of the sky. I'm petrified of deep water. I'm petrified, and I have no idea why. So I would run to my car. I would make sure that nobody saw, or I would leave later and run to my car so nobody would see me. And I get in the car because I didn't want to be exposed. I didn't want to be exposed to this to what was above and what was below. I did not want to.
Yeah, it's understandable. The world would be
So
brutal to you. That's what part of the gig. When
and
the
I
world.
think and yeah, and the real hot peppers on this pizza really are the fact that I had lied about it so much and I felt so guilty about that. And then, when you're in a vacuum and all you have is yourself to talk to, you come up with all kinds of crazy stuff.
Absolutely.
And I'm losing my mind. So what happened was this. I realized that I needed to somehow deal with this, right? And I guess another person might have said, I should really see a therapist. That maybe that's what they would say. That's not where my head went. my head went, well, listen, I'm a bibliophile. I love to read. So I'm going to read about stuff like this. I'm going to find out what's going on. So I read a bunch of stuff and I said, I'm still confused. Some people said they were
Would
all
you
demons and
would you
I'm sorry.
mind here? Because
Go ahead.
this might actually be a good place to stop for
Okay.
part two. The dealing of now the second encounter with this entity, orb, UFO, whatever, and now it is pierced your soul and who you are.
Yeah.
Because we're going on an hour. I really want to show you these images.
Please. Sure.
So I'm trying to figure out here if I go, because it's been a long time since I've done this on Facebook. If I
Sure.
share a screen, I think you will no longer be there, but your images should be there.
Well, can you do me a favor then? Can you send me it in email? I'll pull it up on my other screen and I'll see it separately and I can still see you.
I want the rest of the world to see it too.
Oh, no, but I mean,
So the only thing that's going to
I
happen
understand.
is
Whatever you need to do.
your
Whatever
face
you
is
need
no
to do.
longer to be in this part of the interview, but your voice will still be there.
This would
Okay?
be the best part of the interview.
If I can have I remove my face too. I might have to. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn out the video on my end, just in case there's any kind of buffering issues.
Gotcha. Sure.
And then we're just looking at the images.
Okay, sir.
Share. Entire window. Let's see. Are we in there? Share. We want to now go to images. Share. Maybe you are still there. Okay, we'll see what happens. Let's see what happens. Let's first see if this image comes up. Can you see that image?
I can see the little image, but I don't see a big image. And actually, that little image is behind me.
Okay. Can you take off your you also remove your video.
Okay.
Just not audio,
I'll
just
do.
video.
Sure.
Let's see that helps.
Okay. It took me off.
Is that not
What I see is your page with all these images on.
okay.
That's what I see.
Do you see this right now?
I see it. Yeah, I see a JPEG of the photo that I sent you up in the right-hand corner. That's it.
Can you open it up? Can you widen it?
Wait, do you want me to open up the picture that I sent you?
Yeah, well, okay, here, listen, let's go to the next one. This is going to be interesting.
Okay.
So that's the one that you see. First of all, the audience sees full screen, okay?
Yeah, the thing on the bottom.
So this is the Ultraman, and this is the alien thing.
Yeah.
Do you see the next image? Do you see the next image?
Oh, right below it?
It has this image that is very metallic looking. It looks like an H.
Oh, lying on its side.
But it's actually in the sky.
Yeah, but I mean, it looks like it's on its side, though, right?
Right.
Like, okay, I'm going to try to expand it here on my screen.
Because this has got this. Now
I do. I've been able to expand your page. Yeah.
Okay, this is part of image of entity one.
Okay.
Very metallic looking. Notice it.
Yeah, very metallic.
Now,
Very metallic. Yeah.
we've thought about this. What this could be—a weather balloon or a saddle balloon, or all sorts of other things, and it's not. You can even see some of the entities in this. I do believe that these always are multiple entities. Next image.
Okay, that's A1MM.
Now it's yeah. Do you see this?
Which one do you want me to look at? Give me the name.
A1MM.
Okay, sir.
This is in the
I'm
sky.
stretching my picture.
Now,
Yeah.
what I'm going to show you is a series of images that will eventually turn into something that looks like
Gotcha.
Ultraman. So now it's forming this thing, and if you see the very top of it, this image, it almost has a human shape. There's a head on top, if you will. There's actually two arms forming, and the legs, and a cape type thing. Okay.
Yeah.
This is in the sky, okay, and very metallic looking. Notice that it's
metallic.
shining, and the way the sun is, This
Yeah,
is
the
the
sun's
next
coming
one.
from the wrong direction.
Next one should really blow your mind. If you can see what I see.
A1NN.
A1NN, and if you look, there's a guy with he has like a pointed hat with a face. You can see a nose, two eyes, mouth. If you can't see it, look closer. It has a neck, and it's now forming into something that looks just like something very similar to the head and body of Ultraman. Now, if you can't see it, I will definitely send you the images, and if people, and you can always watch this video if you want to look in detail.
Sure.
I'll make sure.
Sure. I think I can see what you're saying, but for me, what I've done is I've had to stretch your JPEG because I can't see the full thing. So I mean, I understand what you're saying. It's just not as clear as it would be if I could see full
It's a
page. Yeah.
shame.
Yeah.
I'm
But
sure
that
I'm
is
doing
incredible.
I'm sure I'm doing something wrong as far as that goes.
No,
All
no,
right,
no.
but
I think
anyways, let's see what's
that's
the next.
incredible.
Now, this is another image of it. It's morphing. This is not a weather balloon, and this is a very metallic entity that has very pointed like helmet on, or at least it seems that way. In this one, and I will share the images. You can look better at it.
Sure.
But this
That's
one
A1QQ,
the
right?
white because of how. Is it QQ or OO? It's A100. Is that what it is? Something like that.
Okay. I'm looking at them both right now.
So this one, if you look at, and people that are seeing it right now, you can see almost a face, a frontal, like this is a profile of, or you know, you can see almost the two eyes, the nose, the head, a very head-like, almost squarish head. Did this entity seem to have a squarish head? Do you remember?
Yeah. No.
I'm talking about the chin, squarish chin, squarish face.
Yeah.
No,
it was really oval. It was really oval.
Well, this might just be the same shape you're talking about, but it was
Sure.
and I'm just not using the right words.
That's okay. Where did you get these pictures, Mike?
I've had these for 7 years.
Did you take these pictures?
This goes out to Brent. Oh God, dude, I did not say his right name now.
That's okay. Do you know where they were taken?
Brent Muller, he gave it to me. This is another image of this, and you can see this is another one. You'll see a better, I guess, is the profile again of the head. You'll see the pointing of it, and you see this entity as it's transforming and changing, almost very metallic, almost like a transformer type thing.
Yeah,
and that's right as it. So that's it. That's the images that I have. The reason I wanted to bring that up, and it was like, yeah. Let's see if we can get us back to this. And see if we can show it. Once again, your dude. So here we have this guy. He has almost a pointed head. Almost kind of a cone-like head. Almost. Or this kind of represents that. I'm not talking about the alien. I'm talking about, it's very metallic.
Yeah.
And it's got red in it.
Yes.
It's got orange and very much in it. And one of the things I've noticed about these entities too, they spin like people would say is a flying saucer. And when people interact with it, they feel like they're almost in a vortex.
Huh.
And also that, you see something that's very robotic like and seeming very mechanical looking and in nature and here's the humming. What it is, from what I can tell, it's the wings and how they use their wings. They don't fly like animals or birds fly. They spin, and they use their wings to do this spinning motion.
Huh.
Now, I know it's probably the first time you heard this, and you're like, oh, okay, Mike, And I say, absolutely, okay, Mike. I'll stop sharing now. We'll see what happens. I'll make sure to send you the images. The people on will see the images.
Please.
Stop sharing. And if I get knocked off here, I'll call you right back, okay?
Okay.
Because I'm still recording regardless, so it doesn't matter if it gets knocked off. Let's see if we can get I'll get back to here. Then you are back. Can you see me?
No, sir.
Not yet.
No, I can't.
Nope,
Oh,
nope.
wait.
I
Go right
screwed
back.
up. Okay, so I don't know if you were able to see that, but people see. I'll send you the images. But the thing this is an entity that was filmed by. Dude, I'm so sorry. I'll make sure to put in the credits. I haven't talked to him in years, but he's one of the guys that helped me to understand how the connection with power plants, electricity. This same similar entity, by the way, was filmed in 9/11, literally, but
Wow.
nobody has. There's only a handful of people that actually even have the video, because most
Uh-huh.
people just blew it off, or because it was, as always, heavily censored and shadow banned, so no one ever could hear or see it, right?
Mm, I
But
understand.
there's another entity that does the same thing that almost looks like it has. It's like in a craft, but it's not a craft. It's actually how it folds its wings,
That's crazy.
and you can actually still see the head on top,
Mm-hmm.
while as the wings and everything are spinning. And so, am I saying what you experienced is what the same thing? These images, I can't say that, but what I can say is this: if there's any similarity, anything that I've seen so far that
Mm-hmm.
matches your Ultraman, that's just the best that I can give you
Mm-hmm.
at this point.
Well, that was incredible footage. That's incredible.
So, and this film, yeah, let's see, there would have been 2018. It would have been about 5 years ago, about the same time you had your encounter with this orb, this oval entity. By the way, orbs can be oval.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like us to stop there because it's been an hour. I would like us to have a second, and I want you to really think this time, really focus on not so much your childhood. No, I want what happened from that moment because that life-altering moment is extremely important, and many of us have had that. And it's not
Mm-hmm.
just, oh, I've seen something, I must find out what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, in the very inside of you changes. You do have this supernatural thing that happens. I believe it's supernatural because, again, it's a permanence of fear, dread, confusion. The world's not going to, it stops pretty much. All the things that you valued all in your life, all of them stop. And until there's some kind of resolution, some people
Mm-hmm.
call it PTSD, which I don't know if that's the right term for it, although it's definitely traumatic at times, and extremely traumatic actually for most people because it's a life-altering experience, right? And it sounds to me that's what you went through. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're game for it, my friend, we'll go next time. We'll go into the part 2 because there is no way to do this in an hour, and there's no way to give you justice 2 hours. And
Sure.
it's hopefully it's therapy for you and it's therapy for me, but it's also just to get to a closer understanding, closer to the truth of what's really out there, because there's things out
Mm-hmm.
there that seem very mechanical because we're based on our own limited understanding, which you brought up before about our own limited understanding or some similar reference to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that we're in this age of the industrial age, moving into this new fourth age that they want us to go into,
Mm.
and there's a lot of things manifesting now. And with all the different technology they have now, how they can fake things and fool you, and you can be deceived, and just because you don't know what all's out there, what
Mm-hmm.
many of us are discovering is a lot of these entities feed off the same things that our own industry feeds off, like electricity,
Mm.
like heat,
Mm-hmm.
etc. And I'm not doing a good job of it because there's more to it than just that. But
Mm-hmm.
we've had entities, images, things that almost look like ovals or spacecrafts, where these things drop off all these different entities, things that look like
Mm.
Bigfoot, or things that look like your traditional aliens, some that all sorts of other things. It seems they come and go. I know it sounds crazy, It actually does sound crazy until you decide to look into this yourself, because um, a lot of people who have like through close to power plants, places that generate a lot of electricity,
Mm-hmm.
film this stuff.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
Also, you brought up water, and water is the sensation of water, which is very important. What I've noticed too is a lot of people don't want to think about, and maybe as somebody who believes in the Bible, you might want to think about as well that Genesis 1 and really take a serious look at it once again, and see if there's some that might be more truer than we realize about the water and all that kind of stuff. But the thing is, a lot of times with these quote unquote experiences with what we call as alien, it seems to be brushed right off, right over. Oh, it seemed like water, or it seemed, because most people just seem to think, oh, it's like the ether, or just this. There's this times when it just seems really thick and all this kind of shit. It feels like you're going through water, but the
Mm-hmm.
truth of the matter is, we are always going through water.
Hmm.
Did you know that? Of course we know. The atmosphere, what's above
Sure.
us. If the Bible's right, God created the firmament to divide the waters from the waters, and then the firmament
Sure.
itself full of water. So there seems to be a strong connection with water and these
Hmm.
entities. Now,
That makes a
I'm
lot of
not
sense.
saying I
Yeah.
got all the answers, and I'm not saying that there's not such a thing as alien spacecraft and all that. But what I am trying to say is there's a might it just like Ultraman and like so many other things of what they do to us, they hide things in plain sight.
Mm.
Transformers, these sort of things, where you
Mm-hmm.
get an distorted image of what's really going on simply because the people that are presenting it most of the time don't even know what they're just offering a tale, some science fiction. They don't,
Mm-hmm.
but somebody somewhere, if you go deep enough, you'll find out that there actually are people who are saying or know that these are these entities that are transforming, that seem
Mm-hmm.
very metallic, and their
Mm-hmm.
own nature.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like to go down that a little bit more with you, and I want to really talk more about what you went through. But it sounds to me, I want, if you're willing to, because to talk about that phase from what happened when you saw what you saw in the desert
Mm-hmm.
to then everything falling apart is extremely important. That needs to be shared and not
Yeah.
just glossed over. In fact, it might be even more important than what happened when you were a child.
I think you're onto something there, Michael. And when you and I had talked offline from Facebook, we had you had suggested that this be a series of conversations. And so,
It's the only way to get to
listen,
the bottom of
yeah,
something. You can't just.
absolutely, yeah.
I mean, if it's just
So,
simply about selling your video, once again, we'll talk about that. But I hope it's not just about that. That there's something deeper.
no, no,
Because
no,
you say, as you said in that last interview, and what your
yeah,
intentions are. There's part one, part two, part three, and you're
yeah,
not going to be able to get to the bottom of things until you're willing to. Are
without a doubt,
unless we, not you. I'm saying we. And when I say you, I'm generally talking about all of us are
yes, sir,
willing to look at outside the box, as you mentioned in that interview with
yes, sir.
those two guys, and you're not only look outside the box, but be willing to destroy that box.
Yeah, to really, really
Just
know the truth.
right.
Yeah, as you
It's
said,
it's
there
because
really
it's
is a truth.
right.
Yeah,
And so, and and there's a lot of things. One of the things that Tex talked about, he said is something about either you. And he's talking about. I think he was talking about Bigfoot in particular, but about respect. You can either you have to fear these things or you got to respect these things. And I thought to myself, I said, I don't know if thought Tex. He seems like a more smart guy. I don't think he thought that through. There's plenty of things that you should fear and respect.
yeah,
I mean, whether
yeah,
it's if you're in the ocean with a great shark, I think you ought to fear and respect that darn thing because that thing could eat
yes,
you.
sir.
You know what I mean? And when it comes to these
Agreed.
things too, because we don't understand them so much, and if they were able to do something to you like they did as a child,
Yes, sir.
and what else could they possibly? If they could cause you to fear, have that dread and fear and confusion bewilderment, obsession. It
Yes.
happens to so many people, whether it's UFOs, alien encounters, Bigfoot, on and on and on it goes. And from my research, man, they're so connected. Whether it's one of these gray guys that people, or see, or one of these hairy guys that people say, and not only am I saying that, I'm filming it, and it's just not very difficult to film these things once you understand where to look. And always look up, but you don't have to always look way up into the sky. A lot of these things are actually, ironically, in trees, where there's water, life, connection, very great connection. Because trees are amazing. Portal's not the right word, but it's like an antenna, or it's a nerve to the system from the earth, but not all below the earth, into the air and into the atmosphere. Think about it.
Oh,
And people don't ever think about that. They're always looking for footprints or looking for spaceships. Which, by the way, I guarantee if you start looking for whether it's Bigfoot, if you get real connected with this Lord of all spirits, you're going to film these things. You're going to see these things, and my experience has been, I cannot believe it's unique, and I've talked to other people as well and interviewed them. Orbs, UFOs, aliens, Bigfoot, all these things are interconnected for some reason.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%.
And dividing it into different camps is not going to get us anywhere except staying divided.
The reason I think people do that is because it makes them feel like they're in control of what they're doing. And really, we are the not the top of the food chain in many respects, meaning that we don't control these things. We're just kind of observing them. And how we deal with them is a different thing. We have more power how we deal with them. I think you'd probably agree, because you can, we were talking about this offline. Yeah.
Lord, just praying in the name of Jesus to cause a lot of these things to disappear. But not only that, from my experience, the more and more I talk about Jesus and talk out loud and pray to Jesus, they don't go away. They just stop attacking me. They become more interactive with me for some reason. And I think I have the reason for understanding this, because they're interested in if this name, Jesus, Lord of all spirits, and their own spiritual connection to it. And here's another thing, as Christians, and I do it as well. I always say they're demonic, but demonic is probably not necessarily the best word, because demonic doesn't mean they're demons. It's just a general term that we just throw at everything because it causes us fear, dread, and is something against God and all that. But the thing is, if one understands the Bible correctly, a lot of those same entities that talk about the Bible have already been conquered. And if that's the case, then what are we really dealing with? I was talking to a pastor today from Indianapolis about this exact same thing, because he's telling me this is what the Scripture says. And I said, okay, so let's just go with that line of thinking that all these entities, the spirit of the Nephilim, everything's been conquered, right? Through Jesus. If you're right, including Satan and all that, then what are we dealing with? Yeah. And I said, you can if you want to gaslight me, dismiss me like so many other people, and say that I'm full of it because you haven't seen anything. But I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of people that are pretty sane, pretty normal, that have experienced it, and it's changed their lives forever.
Yes.
And so, when I say a lot, I'm talking tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions. Who knows how many millions that is? And so for you to just say that our experience doesn't mean anything, that's just, you're just dismissing everything and just acting like you know everything God's creation, and you have there's no way. As you brought it up at the very beginning of this, it's a good way to end it. So with that, tell us again, John, all the things you're up to and how people can find you, and I will make sure to have links and all that kind of stuff, as of course.
Well, thank you, Michael. My name is John Yost. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter. my project is Alien Abduction: Answers. It's streaming everywhere in the world. I'm sorry, everywhere in North America right now. Amazon Prime, iTunes, YouTube, Kino Now, Global, Google Play. And if you watch it, I hope that it inspires you to think more and to think about your own soul and your consciousness. It is not so much about the shiny lights in the sky, but it's about us as a species, as a people, as God's creation. And I hope it affects you that way. Thank you very much for your time, Michael. And let's schedule another one. Let's schedule another one. I have to go here in a little bit, but
Yeah, we'll talk. We'll
we
talk.
should.
We'll talk
Yeah.
in a couple of days and get that sorted out.
All right, brother.
But it was
Hey,
a really
thank
good
you very
chime, and
much.
thank you for doing this. I think it's going to be very
Thank
positive,
you,
man.
brother. Infinite blessings to you and yours, sir.
And same back to you, brother. Take care.
Thank you. God bless.
So that was John. And I'll show once again those images, just in case anybody was interested in seeing them one more time. This is one of these entities that kind of looks like, well, what do we say? Ultraman? Is this Ultraman? Is this something? What Ultraman was created, inspired by? Is this something? Why is my ugly? I'm not Ultraman. I'm just. Here you see it changing once again, almost looking like a horse. Ultraman, the thing that in the sky, you can see it. Very metallic looking, but yet at the same token have that kind of pointed head and face. That was a fantastic one, to say the least. And is it the same thing? Another thing too is a lot of these things look like a combination of entities as well, or is somehow with these entities, these spirits, what they do is they hook up together to create certain images that maybe people want to see, or I don't know. But if you look very close to this one, it does look like it's made up of multiple heads. Is it the case? I don't know. Is it just a distortion from the camera and all that? It's an easy way to dismiss it, right? It's just like pareidolia, right? Just pareidolia, it's pareidolia. Because if it's not what you specifically want, then you just throw it all away, dismiss it as pareidolia. And, it's time to actually move on from that government. What do I want to say? Just like, once again, just like conspiracy theory, throw it out there. There's a new thing, doublespeak, and distort it. Make people think there's something around. That's Timothy from there. So anyways, we didn't get into talk about my research and about the stars and how close they are and how these entities are filmed in the stars. How the stars themselves look an awful lot like orbs. Their orbs look an awful lot like the stars. That a lot of these what we perceive as spaceships, a lot of entities look just like spaceships, whether they're quote unquote actual angels, a group of spirits, etc. We don't know because we don't know, and it's time with the research and unless they wipe us all out and keep us from knowing the truth, we actually are in a moment in time due to technology that the average man can use through like P900s, P1000s. I'm not sure about the P1000. I don't know how good they are. But there's a lot of cameras out there where you can film incredible detail of planets and stars, which then raises the question a lot about, do planets even exist? What are stars? How close is the sun and moon? And why is that sky really blue? Why is there so much connection with water and other life forms? Is it demonic in nature only? Or is there benevolence? Or just malevolence? Is there both? We learn in the Bible that there are good angels and there are bad angels. One thing we also learn is that angels don't look like you and I. So, and there's a lot of groups of people that have tried desperately to hide that truth from you and I. for one reason or another. So there we go. And it should be interesting, to say the least. I don't know how it's going to work for John. I hope he enjoys being around a strange character like me. And I hope you enjoyed this as well.
You're going to try, go all the way. Otherwise, don't even start. If you're going to try, go all the way. This could mean losing girlfriends, wives, relatives, jobs, and maybe your mind.
If I can